Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your mid-July 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here. Oh, interesting. I'm a Sagittarian, that's why I'm taking particular interest in this particular thread. Interesting. Okay. I try to make these like just general topic, and I lately have even been trying to go away from personal relationships because I do love readings as well, but sometimes there are certain cards that really seem to highlight relationships. This may be one of them, so please, understand that I have to go with what I see here, and it's a general reading, so if it doesn't apply to you, that's it. And what can I say? The heart of the matter is the Eight of Cups, and this doesn't have to be just leaving a relationship. This can be any type of a situation where your heart just isn't in it. And this is something, this is for the mid-month. So this isn't anything new, Sag. This is something that you may have been kind of going back and forth in your mind about like what it is that, whatever this thing is. And sometimes there's like a spiritual quest associated with it. In other words, you just want something more out of life in general. So it may not be that something is bad. It's just that it's not fulfilling enough for you at this moment, especially spiritually. And therefore you no longer resonate with it. You don't feel that sense of connection with whatever it is. For instance, if you're doing a job and you just feel like you can't do it anymore because it just doesn't resonate with your values or your whatever your passions are in life, then that's just how it is. It doesn't mean that something is bad necessarily, or that it's lacks integrity. But personally, we do have our own, like values. It doesn't mean that overall that thing is wrong for everybody, but it just may not be right for us at this time in your journey, because in the past position we have the High Priestess, so that is that spiritual influence. And it can even be because this is like an interior type of an energy. Could be that something is prompting you. Maybe it's your higher self is prompting you to make these changes. By the way, one thing I didn't say is I said mid-month, but I really mean the last half of the month. It's so funny because I was even wondering if this lacked integrity. I was putting mid-month, and then I changed it to the end of the month because I wanted people to know it's the last half of the month. And I just felt like, oh wow, I'm just changing the title of it. But it really was to indicate the last half of the month. So I hope that people understand that when I'm talking about these readings, that I'm intending it to be for the last half of each month, even if I say mid-month. And anyway, we are having a lunar eclipse on the 16th. So there again, we have this situation where we're having something more of a personal, interior, emotional type of response to an area of life that may get us thinking about which direction we want to go in. And, it isn't lost on me, going back to this card, that there's a moon there, because the moon is that intuitive part of us. And actually, I always think of this card as being associated with Scorpio. I don't know if that is true, but definitely cups are water energy, and Scorpio is the 8th house, so that's how I put 2 and 2 together. And if it is connected to Scorpio, you know, Scorpio is our 12th house. So it's like that unfinished business that we're having to kind of like consider before we fully move forward in some area of life. The higher message is the Lover's card. And if this is like really striking you as a romantic relationship situation, that you need to leave a relationship that you feel is not the right one for you, for whatever reason, you don't feel love for that person. Maybe at one time you thought you loved them, and now you realize that it's just not there. Understand with the Lover's card, it's, you know, really talking about true intimacy. And when I think of the term lover, a lot of times I think of somebody that's a sexual partner. You know, they say, I have a lover, and it's like, you know, that kind of thing. And that's unfortunate because that's only one type of intimacy. And some people confuse that with emotional intimacy and the deeper kind of a bond that a person forms with another person. And so perhaps that is the thing that you're looking for, that you have not found as of yet, but that you should strive to find. Maybe that is part of this quest of yours. Also, the Lovers can relate to a choice. And maybe all of this is about you making a choice between two things. Perhaps you've been trying to do two things at once, Sag, or you didn't realize you had a choice. Like you're leaving something behind or wanting to leave something behind, but there's nothing that you're necessarily going towards. And I always say that it's important to have something to go towards. When I'm bringing up this card, is that it's not enough to leave a situation. There are plenty of people that make it a very common pattern to just bail out of things. But they don't really have a direction that they're going in. They don't have an intention that they've set for their lives. They're just kind of like in motion. And to me, that's not the answer either. So you have to have a vision for yourself. If you are going to leave a person, place, or thing, make sure that you kind of like have some idea of what it is that you want to manifest in your life to replace that thing or that person. And I don't mean people can be replaceable. I think you know what I mean. What crosses you is the Page of Wands. In the challenge position, this can be that maybe you're waiting for some news that you are impatient to get and it hasn't arrived yet. Remember that we are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. And so things that are coming to us, this could include a physical mail or an email, something that, a phone call. Maybe we won't get it when we think we're going to get it. Maybe it will be delayed until August. August seems to be shaping up to be a dynamic month for everyone. But because we are Sagittarians and most of the month the sun is going to be in Leo, that's going to be really cool for us because Leo is a fellow fire sign. So it trines our sun. And that is sweet. So don't allow yourself to be kept in this state of expectancy. Understand that there is divine timing. Everything is going to get to you when it needs to. Don't let that slow you down. Keep going. If you have something that you feel you need to do, get as much information as you need, but don't allow yourself to stagnate. Page of Wands can also be a new, chapter in your life, new stuff that you're into. Again, there may be some stuff that needs to be fully resolved, that, those loose ends again, and then you can move forward. What is coming in, or the advice, is the Page of Swords. I would say watch your back. Make sure that your word is impeccable. I'm getting that from the Four Agreements. For instance, if you're leaving a job, be careful about divulging the reason why to people that you think that you trust in the workplace. Maybe you think to yourself, you know what, I don't really care. I'm going to let the chips fall where they may, and I'm going to tell them how much I couldn't stand the job. It wasn't the job, it was the management and all this stuff. Don't burn bridges. And be very careful, because you never know what kind of retaliatory action that other people can take. Some people are very vindictive. You may think that everybody is like you, Sag, and there's a puppy dog, and they're not. Some people are very bitter when they feel like they're not getting what they want, or they feel rejected by something. And same with a relationship. If you're leaving a relationship, there's no need to broadcast this to other people who you're not really on close terms with, and who you don't really know very well. Sometimes people will ask questions because they're trying to ferret out information. The Page of Swords is a spy card. So it's like the person who is kind of like gathering information. But sometimes people are doing this for nefarious purposes. They're not really so concerned about how well you are coping. They're really trying to, they call it hoovering, trying to suck up information, because they're going to go and run and tell it to other people. And I actually just did a reading in this series for Libra, and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a soap opera, all the stuff that's going on. And, I don't like to create paranoia or anything, but sometimes I know myself that I sometimes have given people more credit than they deserve. And, there's a certain naive quality about some Sagittarians where you believe that other people are going to be on the up and up, and they're not. And that's just a fact of life. So it's not about being paranoid, it's about being aware and about protecting yourself. Protecting your communication, I guess I would say, with the Page of Swords. The outcome is the Two of Cups. This makes me think that some of you are leaving, that you're reuniting with somebody from the past, maybe. During Mercury retrograde, you do tend to hear, you might hear from somebody in your past. I just want to say, the reason I use language that's very tentative is because I'm not going to act like, oh yes, this is going to be true across the board. I really don't want to do something like that, just to seem more sure of myself. Because I can't think of any examples offhand, but I do believe in past Mercury retrogrades that I have experienced hearing from somebody that I hadn't heard from in a while. But you know what? Just like Mercury retrogrades can lead to problems with your electronics. I've had times where I've had problems with my electronics and it wasn't a Mercury retrograde. So that's why I don't want to make these blanket statements, is because it's not the only time that things can happen like this. And but in any case, if there's any scenario that is like this for you, maybe you're already talking to an ex. I always say, make sure that you are really realizing the nature of a relationship with somebody, because maybe you are just caught up in the moment of the reunifying, but you're not really thinking, hey, are we going to change our dynamics, or are we going to just continue in the same pattern that we were when we broke up the first time? So not to be a wet blanket, but I just think that it's very important to have that confidence that things are going to be different this time. And sometimes, it might have been just a timing thing where you weren't ready to be in that type of relationship. Maybe you were too young. Maybe you were coming out of another bad relationship and it just didn't feel right. And now the stars are lining up for it. So that would be wonderful. And in the case of somebody who is, this is a work-related thing, this can even be like a partnership with someone. Maybe you're going to start a business with somebody. I actually get a couple of cards like that with the Lover's card as well. So if you have a friend, somebody that maybe you've talked to in the past who has one type of skill and you have the other, and maybe they're going to be the silent partner and give you the money and you're going to open the business. Who knows? But that could be going on as well. Okay, that's what I have for you, Sag. I hope that you were able to get something out of this. If you'd like a personal reading, my website is rainamoonastrology.com and the link is below. Take care. Bye.